Alright, and we are back.
Woohoo.
Woohoo! Hype. So, while I was looking at the AMD conference, Zyrum was away to look at the rest of Bethesda and also the entirety of Devolver, which he hasn't seen yet. So, we are gonna start this stream off with his opinion on both of those. So, let's start with Bethesda. What did you think of that?
Yeah, first off, the crowd. They they were excited for everything.
The ESO part especially, instead of having a shrieking gnome in the audience, this time they had like a dude who was yelling at everything.
Yeah. Um, the Bethesda could have a flying pink elephant who was shaking hands with Mickey Mouse, and they were going nuts about it.
I mean, I would probably like them include a pink elephant at some of their games. Have a pink elephant level in Doom and see how well that gets over.
Yeah, but just they could do anything, yeah, and the crowd would go nuts about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bit of a side effect, and don't like this. But Bethesda could not change this, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's not on them. That's just something that threw me a bit off.
On the subject of the crowd, they got cheered for putting NPCs back in Fallout. And I was like,
Yeah.
You don't cheer for that. That should be there in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
Speaking
Yeah,
of that
overall-
whole Fallout stuff, let's talk about that first, actually.
Yeah.
So they
Um,
started off with addressing the criticisms of Fallout 76. They brought Todd Howard out immediately, which surprised me, and
Yeah,
just
and-
kind of talked about a battle royale mode and some NPCs and quests, and got applause for it. What was your take on that?
yeah, it was just hey, yeah, we made mistakes, but hey, we made something new.
Mm-hmm.
Please take this. and the thing after that, well, there I shook my head. They went through the history of Bethesda
Mm-hmm.
a little bit, and just and just oh my god, they say, yeah, we are amazing, look at what we have done first.
Yeah, we are driving innovation, they said, as they
Yeah.
continue to use the same game engine for like over 10 years now.
We are awesome, that's what they are saying, and I just know you're not.
Not after that, yeah, you're not. So after
That
that
was just
whole Fallout, I don't remember what was immediately after Fallout.
I think Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh, right, into ESO, yeah. They were really celebrating the fact that they now have dragons in their Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah,
They were making a big deal about that.
and it looked fine.
It was a render trailer, because of course it is.
Yeah.
Then afterwards
Yeah,
they
but-
had like this weird trailer for the card game as well. Also with dragons.
Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But ESO and the card game was fine, was nothing special, and
They
that's
have
what
that
you
every year,
expect.
and I
Yeah.
don't care about either of them, so...
Yeah, but it's that what you expect from a normal conference,
Mm-hmm.
and you get it. So
Yeah, it was supposed to be there. And they had to talk about it at some point, so
yeah.
it was fine.
And then there's my favorite game of this conference,
Hmm.
a mobile game.
Uh huh. Captain something.
Commander Keen.
Commander Key.
Commander Keen. That was my favorite game
Honest,
from Bethesda.
I didn't really felt much about it. I was like, oh, this looks fine. This is cute. I did like the art style, but
Yeah, the rest was just well, the rest of the games from Bethesda was just yeah, we have big guns or a lot of guns.
And then they had Ghostwire Tokyo, which had this amazing trailer about vanishing people. I would have loved gameplay about this. So it was still my favorite part of the show before Doom came on. But I would have that was an early highlight for me. This Japanese presenter lady that came on stage for that was just adorable. She was the best, and the game was really intriguing. I would have loved to see what type of gameplay it is, though.
But I'm really careful because it's Bethesda.
Of course.
When we first saw Fallout 76, we all go, yeah, that can work.
Yeah, that's an open world game, though. I don't think that Ghostwire Tokyo will be open world. I think it's going to be more in the vein of Call of Cthulhu, maybe.
But Fallout 76 didn't fail because it's open world.
No, but it failed because they were using an engine that was not fit for the game they were making. They also made a game that they never made before, or a type of game that they never made before. And also, they were taking everything out of Fallout that made Fallout good. That's why it failed.
Yeah. I'm just careful when Bethesda does new things.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't overhyping myself for it because they didn't show any gameplay. I would like to know what type of game it is. The plot is a mystery plot. So I'm sure that at least the story will be intriguing. And Bethesda can do a story. It's just, the gameplay side of things that might be shaky.
Yeah, and the rest of the games were Wolfenstein and Doom, and that's just big fucking guns.
I mean, Doom I love, though. Doom was great. They showed a bunch of gameplay for it as well, which was probably, that was the thing they showed most gameplay of. By far.
Yeah.
And it looked great, like having this little flamethrower on your shoulder. I'm gonna use the heck out of that.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of Doom, so...
Yeah, I loved it. I was really into this. That was a good note to end it on. Wolfenstein is going to be fine. I like the idea of having twin sisters so that you can have a co-op campaign. That's a good idea. I always had this issue with Wolfenstein that the gun models were way too big. Like, Doom also has really big guns, but also Doom has an over-the-top protagonist that's supposed to be overpowered. So him having big fucking guns is not as much of a deal breaker as random people in a Nazi world having big fucking guns.
Yeah. But the whole Bethesda conference was just mobile games and big fucking guns.
It was. Also, what do you think about Elder Scrolls Blades coming to Switch?
Like it. And yeah, see how it works on Switch.
I will say this, the game itself was not great because you had to wait on everything. I was pretty snarky about that in the actual stream itself as well. But I am thinking that controlling the sword with the Joy-Con will probably be worthwhile.
Yeah, we have to see how this works on the Switch.
I cannot see it not working because it was supposed to be a mobile game. The Switch is a better platform than mobile, so I think it's going to be a little bit better. But I don't know how much of the waiting will carry over to the Switch.
Yeah, I think they need to change the game a bit so that it's really working or a success on the console.
I think they will though as well because they take a little bit of time with the port.
Yeah, and in general, Bethesda was really careful in what they are doing right now.
Yeah, they are. You could tell with everything they announced, like, if you just look at the body language of the presenters on stage, they were nervous.
Yeah. And fortunately for them, they had a great crowd to take this diversity.
They had a very generous crowd also.
Yeah.
There was something for Rage 2.
Yeah.
A big update, which, was fine. Rage looks
with more guns.
more like a game that I would like to play. Like the launch version was a bit, it was too similar to the Mad Max game, which the Mad Max game was fine, but they had like it's Mad Max with quirky guns, and I didn't think they got the balance right. Now with this update, I think they found their niche and they're going all out with it, and I might be able to try that out now.
Yeah, and then they got the VR Wolfenstein game.
Mm-hmm. They didn't talk too much about that one though.
Yeah. You're just doing what you're doing in Wolfenstein, you shoot Nazis.
Then they had this game called Deathloop, which I thought had
Yeah.
an interesting concept. I would have loved to see more gameplay on that. That was pretty much just a render trailer for the most part.
Yeah, the things you know about, they show a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And their new IPs or just new games, they just show the trailer and then leave it as that.
I was a bit disappointed that they completely dropped Quake. They didn't mention Quake at once. Even QuakeCon will be renamed DoomCon because that's just a big release.
This was the only mentioning of Quake.
Hmm. And they didn't even mention esports, even though they made a big deal about it the last couple of times.
Yeah, for me overall, really, not a really, but a bad conference.
It was alright. It was still better than I expected it to be, because I thought they were going to spend a lot of time either apologizing or glossing over the issues. They kind of addressed it right at the beginning, and then they just moved on, which was the right thing to do. I don't think it deserves too much praise.
If you're a fan of Bethesda games, it was a okay conference.
Yeah, I would say it was alright. It wasn't like mind-blowing or anything.
What I'm really curious about is okay, they didn't show something about Elder Scrolls. That's fine. Elder Scrolls 6 comes out in roughly about 6 years.
They
so.
mentioned Starfields once, but without actually
they,
showing anything about it.
That they don't show something about Starfields or just tell us a bit about Starfields is.
I mean, I'm expecting Starfields to launch somewhere around the 2022 mark, maybe.
I think mid 2021 till late 2021.
It's hard to say at this point because we have no info about this game at all. We don't know how far along it is. If they don't update the engine, then we're gonna see the game sooner.
Yeah, but for me, they could just drop a little bit of sneak peek about the story, as for an example, or just something that you don't forget that this game exists.
Mm.
Because Elder Scrolls, everyone has this on his mind. It's freaking Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, but Starfield is gonna come out before that Elder Scrolls game, so I don't expect too much about that.
That's right, but Elder Scrolls is just the big name, and if you only mention your new IP once in a minor way, it's just show a little bit of a snippet.
They're gonna hold over Elder Scrolls fans, I suspect, with either some remakes or like some small releases until they are ready to actually announce something about the new one, and that's gonna take a couple of years. That's my take on that.
Yeah, that they didn't show anything about Elder Scrolls is fine.
I mean, they had like everything about those spin-off games. They mentioned Elder Scrolls Blaze. They mentioned ESO.
Yeah, that they didn't mention ES6. But a little bit of info about Starfield would be fine.
Would have been nice, yeah. Or at least show us a spaceship. Just a spaceship. Now that's pretty much wrapping up Bethesda, actually. There was not too much else to comment on. Especially when you're not a Doom fan. There were some minor things I was picking up about Doom, but you were probably not paying too much attention about that.
Yeah.
So then let's move over to the Devolver stuff.
Yeah. Overall, entertaining conference or direct.
The fact that they did a direct this year, kind of, that was the unexpected thing for me. I really wanted, I was looking forward to the stock footage audience again.
Yeah. um, Pretty entertaining overall, but as always, bad conference
I mean,
because of
before we go onto the stuff that they announced,
yeah,
let's just talk about the actual like presentation as a whole, so that we can get that out of the way.
yeah,
Um, I love the fact that it played basically in Nina Struther's minds, but she was still censored all the time.
yeah.
That
That
was
was pretty cool.
since they spoofed on Nintendo. That was a really cool thing of making fun of the whole family-friendly stuff while still ripping a guy's throat off.
Yeah, and yeah, how this whole story developed, and in the end,
They have
was
a
pretty
big bad
nice.
now. They have an antagonist.
Yeah,
So good. It's the woman for marketing. She's the big bad now. Nina Strathers got some characterization. Assistant lady was there again.
obviously.
Yeah, she just kind of made like one blood spurt go away and then left again
Yeah.
at one point. That was good. Then there was this one guy who got a chest burster, and then that was the bridge to one of the game announcements. That was probably the best of the stuff that they showed.
No, I'm more excited about the first game they showed.
The first
This was
game was the Jelly Beans Takeshi's Castle thing.
yeah, that looks really fun.
The first thing I associated with that when I saw that was like, maybe this is like a battle royale game, or then I thought maybe Mario Party minigame wise, that after every minigame they tally up how many are left. And then I saw them running through the walls, and then I was like, this is one for one of the Takeshi's Castle minigames. And then it clicked
Yeah,
for me that this is basically Takeshi's Castle, but only one gets the crown at the end.
yeah, it's battle royale, but in a new way.
Yeah, I am on board with that, honestly. It looks fun.
Yeah, I really like this.
Especially as someone who grew up with Takeshi's Castle.
Yeah,
This
great
was
show.
pretty cool. And then the second thing they showed was the bootleg stuff.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That was an idea so insane it could only come out of Devolver. The fact that you
Yeah,
can buy a Steam game that's basically a collection of them ripping off their own games. It's just, you can buy that for $4 with a 1% discount right now.
wow.
I'm thinking about getting that actually. It's just an insane amount
I,
of
I
little.
I don't really see that as a game announcement. That's just yeah, reaching it into the story.
It's this year's loot box coin, basically.
Yeah,
Only that it's more accessible, it's more easy to get, and it's probably going to be available longer than a loot box coin was.
yeah,
So it's a spoof on that idea, but I just think it's very creative.
yeah. It's just in addition to this narrative Devolver uh, tells with this conferences over the past years.
And then after that was the chestburster thing, which I already forgot the name about, but I think that was the best game that they showed, just from pure mechanical standpoint, because the
Yeah,
idea of playing an alien, being able to go inside of people and taking them over maybe, or just killing everything inside, that's a cool idea to me. And I can see a lot of gameplay applications for that. I already saw some interesting bits of level design in the short trailer that it showed. And it reminded me of like a mixture of the Edmund Macmillan game Gish and
yeah,
maybe some the Endless Night in there just from the jumping mechanics.
yeah.
And then there was
If you
also
talk,
uh, what was the name of that other Edmund Macmillan game where you played the spider and you had to move the legs?
oh,
You know which one I mean?
Yeah.
So the game reminded me of a mixture of that, Gish, and the jumping mechanics or level design from The End Is Nigh.
Um,
Trickneed or something?
can be. If we talk about objectively the best game they showed, this is true. Um, interesting mechanics, as you also said. Um, interested to see a bit more gameplay.
At the very least, they showed gameplay on that. I'm
Yeah.
always glad this year that we get to see gameplay at all. Because, on a whole, it's a very sparse year when it comes to gameplay.
Yeah, and then comes Watch Dogs 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But the setting didn't connect with me.
I can see that.
They ended with my friend Pablo, I think.
Yeah, before that, they announced the arcade cabinet. Which is
Ah,
also an insane thing that in the year of 2020 you're going to sell actual arcade games again. It's just
Yeah.
like a what the fuck moment again, and you know that they are actually going to do it because it's Devolver and they are insane.
Yeah, this is the narrative I talked about. They're just, what could we release? What people actually buy? What's
That's the
easy
other
to
thing.
consume?
It's going to actually work for them at the end
Yeah.
as well, because no one else is so
And
stupid to do that. So they have an
yeah.
empty market to provide to.
So how could we squeeze a lot of money out of the people that the people will actually buy and
Hmm.
don't complain about?
And they actually get something their money's worth as well.
Yeah.
They are not that
That's
evil.
a,
They are just insane.
yeah, that's a narrative Devolver told us over the past years,
Hmm.
that they want to squeeze a lot of money out of us. Um, but they don't want us to complain about this, so they actually give us something worth.
And then they showed another trailer for My Friend Pablo, which was kind of. I thought that they did that mainly because um, they wanted to show how the whole thing is glitching out more and more over time.
Yeah.
So they needed something that we already knew about, so that the glitches don't interfere with what we get to see. So they took a game that we already had an impression on. So that
And
this additional gameplay looked fine. Looked just
yeah,
as
and
fun as the
which
stuff we knew about.
I think the game releases end of this month.
Yeah.
So just a reminder, hey, this game also exists. Release is this month.
Not that I forgot it,
By
because My Friend Pablo was the best game that they showed last year.
yeah, but it's a year. Gaming industry is a fast living one.
And I think that's everything they showed, right? Or did I
Game
forget
wise,
something?
yeah. I think game wise that's it.
After that, they just did that little Terminator thing to close it out. But I have a question for you. Because the marketing lady made a point to say that now they can do, with the directs, now they can do like announcements outside of E3. So do you think we're gonna get more Devolver directs over this next year? And then end the Devolver Direct saga next year at E3? Do you think that's where they are going?
I can see one or two directs happening inside next year. Just one for yeah, fall maybe, and then one right around February, March, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That could be happening.
That's just what I was thinking when she was talking. Like, this is going to, like, if they wouldn't mention this specifically if they don't have some sort of plan for it.
Oh, that's also true.
I do follow Maria Zook on Twitter, so I guess I would find out if that's actually the case. By the way, she did a phenomenal job of acting again this year. this time she was kind of losing her mind in a different way than usual, so she did a brilliant job. I loved the fact when the one dude was talking and she was just walking around him in the background. That was really good.
Yeah, the conference or direct was really entertaining, but game-wise, meh.
Yeah, there was not a lot there, which there never is. In the first time they did one, they only showed 2 games.
Yeah.
Now the year after that they showed 3, and this year they also showed 3 plus the arcade cabinet
Yeah.
and the other thing. So yeah, they're getting there. They have more and more releases every year. So as for AMD, which I was watching while you were away,
Yeah.
they started with some graphic cards, of course. The presenter was Lisa, who is the same girl that always comes when the PC gaming show was rolling around and talking about hardware, and I don't get anything. But she herself is very excitable about this, so she is good. She did a lot of rhetorical questions during her presentation, so that was kind of getting on my nerves after a while. That the fact that she was always throwing in questions that the audience can then cheer for. That got tiresome after a while, but other than that, she did a great job of concisely getting information across about a topic I don't understand. Also, there was a guy whose name was Robert. He came on stage 3 times. And every time he shook the hand of whoever called him on stage, 2 times that was Lisa. It was just kind of awkward. After the 3rd time, I made like a little list of how many times he's on there, but after that he didn't appear again, so I just have my awkward 3 things there on my but yeah.
Hey, my name is Alfred. I'm here again.
Yeah. He did actually the most impressive thing that they showed off in their comparison with Intel, which of course was a big thing throughout everything that they showed. Was like, okay, here's our direct competitor from Intel. Here are the stat comparisons, which they always picked like a certain couple of things, and then maybe an arrangement of games, and then they had like comparisons, which were not really. The graphs were not numbered or anything. You cannot really read them. They only wrote like a percentage on top of each. So that's like very selective marketing tactic. But the really impressive thing was that they had like a side-by-side comparison of gameplay running. And then they had the frames on top, and it looked like the Intel had better frames. And I was like, why are they showing this? And then he said, okay, this is what it looks like when you stream with the best settings. And then you could see that on the Intel they had like 2 frames or 2% of frames actually going onto the stream. So it was like a slideshow. Whereas the other gameplay was running just under 60 frames. And that was the thing that I was like, I have no idea about hardware, but I can understand that. And that is a direct like fighting words. Those are fighting words. That's a winning comparison right there. So that was impressive to me. That was like, I think, the most impressive thing out of the first 30 minutes or so of this whole thing. And then I brought Jeff Keighley out, who is, of course, the presenter of the Game Awards. And he then took the presenter spot for a while, talking about all the games and their involvements with AMD and all the partnerships and all that. And they brought out a couple of guys and one girl who were then presenters of different games, or the girl was a presenter for the Unity game engine. And they were all like just showing off mostly lighting. They all made a big point about lighting and real-time rendering and stuff like that. And most of it was geared towards getting over Fidelity FX, which was the big software that before Jeff Keighley came out, there was like a software dude who was talking about Fidelity FX and all this kind of stuff. He was getting that stuff over. So they harkened back to that. So this entire presentation was really well structured because everything was harkening back to the other stuff. So even if you had no idea about anything, because the people that were presenting the games mentioned that and why that mattered to their game, I could then understand why the stuff that they were presenting mattered. So that was good. That was seriously good. It was maybe not the most entertaining or engaging presentation, but it was a really well structured one. And then, of course, because they wanted to show how the gameplay looks like when used with AMD, they showed a little bit of extra gameplay for Ghost Recon and for Borderlands, which looked like a Borderlands game. You know, there was not too much there, but they had Randy Pitchford talking about Light for a bit, and he, in like a half sentence, mentioned that you can go on different planets, which was news to me. So, there you go. That was a little bit of a exclusive reveal there. Then the Unity lady was making a big deal about real-time rendering as well, and how much high-fidelity details you could get, and little dynamic rendering and stuff like that. Then after all of that was done and Jeff Keighley was about to go off stage, he gave Lisa, who then came back on stage for the final reveal, he gave her like a little figurine of her as a superhero, which was kind of cute. But she didn't know how to take it, so he took it back with him backstage. I'm not sure if she was into that or not. She was kind of flustered about it. Yeah, then she had like the big bombshell of an even better version of the GPUs and CPUs that they started the show with. Like they had like the best version of that they saved for last, and then they brought like a CPU chip who was a 16 core, which is insane to me. They made a big deal about the 12 core earlier, so I was like, wow, 12 core. That's impressive. Those are good specs from what I can understand. And then they just break out the 16 core at the end. I was like, whoa, mind blown.
I think that's double the amount of cores a normal good Intel processor has at the moment.
Exactly. They were
you can get for normal price.
Yeah. I mean, the 16 core costs somewhere in the vicinity of like $700, which you know is to be expected from new tech. So I wasn't shocked at that. I was mostly impressed at the sheer numbers they brought with that thing.
And $700 for 60 cores are just, it's not that pricey.
That was also a thing. They made a big deal, like AMD always does, of providing the best quality for different price ranges. They had like pretty good stuff for like $100 to $250.
Yeah.
They had like two small ones they presented that were pretty nice. They were pretty much on the same level as the Intel. They had also side-by-side comparison, and they were on the same level. Like on some parts of the game, the Intel was a little bit better, and on other parts, then the AMD was a little bit better. And they were just like going back and forth with that on when it comes to frames. I didn't see much of a difference other than that. So they were pretty much on the same level, and they were pretty affordable. So that was alright. And then even the best GPU that they showed at the end, they took like all the stats and stuff, and I was like, whoa, that's pretty good. That's probably like the $700 one, and that was like 400 something. So I was pretty surprised by that. And then they broke out the 16 core, and everything just melted. I think if I were someone who has a clue about hardware, or if I knew hardware specifics, I would have been even more excited about this. But so I was just kind of silently stunned. I was definitely impressed by that. So I would say that the AMD conference, I cannot really rate it because I have nothing to compare it to, and I don't know enough about hardware to really make a call on that. But it was really well structured. Again, they made it in a way that I could understand what was going on, even if I didn't understand all of the specifics. And also I got a little bit of extra gameplay out of it. So I say I'm glad that I watched it, I would say. Also, we made a joke about children in the AMD crowd. There was in the front row, there was one child just kind of like sitting there with her mom. And by the end of the show, she looked bored to tears.